All right, we're back for another episode of the More to It podcast. I am the host, Jay Moore, and I am stoked as hell to be guest by the career receptions leader at Nebraska, the career yardage receiver at Nebraska, KB, Kenny Bell. What's happening, brother?
Another day in paradise, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you having me.
No, man, I appreciate it. This just worked out perfectly. We're recording before the Team Jack Gala here in Lincoln. It just happened to be, I always try to come and help and support this, and I'm like, perfect. Let's get a knock on a pod here real quick and just wrap here for 35, 40 minutes. How you been? How you feeling, man? I know you're getting over an injury here the last few months, but how you feeling?
I'm doing well. It's been tough. This past year was very trying, like obviously hanging up the cleats.
Mm-hmm.
I suffered a horrific leg injury. I tore my quadricep tendon from my bone, got that repaired and finally starting to get back healthy, but I'm doing well, man. I couldn't be more thankful to be in this position, honestly, and every time we get to come back for the Team Jack Gala, it's really humbling. Not only is it humbling, but it's just kind of appreciation for not only, the time we spent in Nebraska, but the community and the culture that is, dear to us. It's really second to none.
Yeah, totally. Would you ever thought from that one play in the spring game, 8 years ago?
Yeah,
this would ever turn into something like what we got going on now?
I thought? I knew in the moment it was special, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I could never imagine the subsequent events that would take place with Jack winning the SB and then just everything that has transpired since. I would have never thought that, but I'm incredibly, grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it is really, it's second to none, like I said. But that speaks volumes to the culture that Nebraska, has built over the past.
Yeah, no, it's
40,
unreal
50
support that you get at this place. It's you can speak to it because you've been other places, you've been other cities, and I've been other cities playing in the NFL, and it's just nothing compares. Like it's nothing. I don't know about you, but I remember the first time playing in the old Candlestick with San Francisco,
Yeah.
and the vibe and the juice you feel from Memorial Stadium Saturday. I came kind of it's preseason. I'm like, dang, it's dead out here.
Dead.
I'm like, dang, how do you gotta literally get yourself geeked up a little bit, because before you could let the juice in the crowd get you kind of going, but it's like, man, it's odd, but that's just how good we got it here.
Yeah, honestly, it's even deeper than that, right? Like I was telling my lady as we checked into the Cornhusker, because this was our team hotel, just leaving the team hotel from your team meeting and getting on the bus, and there's 200, 300 people waiting outside your hotel. It is second to none. It's incredible. Especially when you compare it to the NFL standards as far as fandom.
Yeah.
It's really hit or miss. No matter
totally.
where you are, right?
Well,
but every Saturday,
especially if you're struggling.
Oh, if you're struggling, it's gonna be brutal.
Yeah, it's really. So it's crazy. I look at it. My last year was 2006, so I'm going on 13, 14 years removed. You just said, you're going on 6 years removed.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild how time flies? You say you're just 6 years removed from playing here?
It's
it just
crazy.
Probably feels like yesterday, don't it?
Yeah, it honestly does. And like I said, as we check in here and we're taking the elevators or taking the escalators, and just as those memories start to fly by, it's incredible how fast time has gone. But it's also incredible how grateful you are for the experience, because we get to do stuff like this,
Right.
and that's what makes Nebraska so special.
We didn't play together, but I feel like you're one of my teammates. That's what's cool about this place. That's why I try to tell people. That's why I go to the guys who are way older than me. We play a lot of golf. It's like I felt like I played with these guys, but I never did. So that's how the hell is a kid from Boulder, Colorado, come to Nebraska?
That's a good question. So going back to what you said about guys that we feel like we played together, I think that's a testament to the type of men that Nebraska brings to the field. Not only to the field, but just to the community. It genuinely feels like we're, torn from the same page, whether we played in the 90s, the early 2000s, or 2010s like I did. It's incredible the brotherhood that we share just because of the university, and that's because of the culture. Now, how I got to how I got from Boulder to Lincoln is a great story. At that time, the Buffs were struggling. I've always loved the Buffs. I'm born and raised in Boulder. But when Bo came and saw me, and at the time Ted Gilmore was the receivers coach, they painted a picture for me that wasn't one of I'm trying to think of the word. They didn't patronize me. They weren't like, you're going to come in, you're going to play,
Yeah.
you're going to be the man. Bo laid it out as you come in, you work your tail off, you're going to get an opportunity to be be a part of one of the most storied college football programs ever. And I think that's what really attracted me to Nebraska, was not so much, I want to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was much more so, if you're gonna work, you're gonna grind, and you're gonna earn every minute of it.
Right.
And that's what I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
so that's kind of what turned me on.
I mean, it's funny because you look at, Bo was always viewed as a bad recruiter.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the beauty of podcasts. We'll just have to edit that out. But
yeah.
We're just talking, with Bo in his view, and he was my defensive coordinator for a year when he came here in 2003.
Yeah, that's right.
Loved the guy. It's just weird because how unsuccessful. I can't say unsuccessful. It was very, very successful with winning 9 games. You just could have won that big one.
Yeah.
And that's because I look back at your time in Nebraska. I mean, you guys' offense was, one of the best all times. You put it up statistically with Nebraska, with the talent you guys had.
Yeah.
You can just go through the guys you had during your time who spent many, many years on NFL rosters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Defensively, it might have been where did you see? What helped you in your mind? What held you up from just getting over that hump of winning the Big Ten title or beating Wisconsin or whatever it may be?
It's so hard. Like, hindsight's 2020, right? Because from 2009, right, like right before I got here, to 11, we were just phenomenal on defense. We were so good on defense that our offense, right? So 2009, our defense was what, 6 or 7 points a game.
I mean, it was stupid.
Just stupid. Just
but you had
ridiculous.
No offense.
No, we couldn't move the ball.
Mm-mm.
So from even 2009, 10, 11, we were really struggling to move the ball, but our defense was just insane. We had Ndamukong Suh, we had Eric Hagg, we had Prince Amukamara, we had just phenomenal players on the defensive side, and we just couldn't put it all together on the offensive side. And then you look at 12, 13, and 14, where we really started moving the ball, but at the same time we put our defense in some pretty bad spots because we tried to move the ball so fast. A lot of times, sometimes we'd turn it over, or we'd go 3 and out.
Right.
And when you're talking about college football, those kind of momentum swings are huge. So I think like the biggest thing, obviously, players could have executed better, coaches could have coached better. I think it was really just putting it all together in 1 year is really what hurt us. And I think the pinnacle of that is 2012. Right? Like, we get our just tails kicked by Wisconsin.
Right. In the Big Ten.
Yeah. No. I'm early in the year.
Early in the year.
Early in the year.
What year did you?
2011 was that year.
Was that where you had your sweet block and that called?
Yeah,
that was one.
Big Ten.
Okay.
So 2012 was a year, but I mean we lost to Ohio State on the road, and they just kicked our tail in. And then we came back, and we had, I think, our next 6 games, we had 5 that were like second half comebacks that we really just like rallied. We rallied not only around our head man in Bo, but we rallied around each other. And then we just got beat in that Big Ten championship, beat up bad. And that was really like, I think, the catalyst of when people really started to think, okay, Bo's not the guy. And that's where that kind of downhill, that's when they brought in Eichhorst to try and shake things up. And that's where things just, I don't want to say went downhill. That's just where things changed culturally in a big way. When T.O., we loved Coach Osborne so much, but when T.O. left my junior year and they brought in Eichhorst, there was a rift.
Oh, huge.
A huge rift that didn't seem, now looking 2020 in hindsight, right? Just didn't seem mendable. Right.
Well, it's just crazy. We had, I was just talking with Doak Ostegard and just talking about his transition because he's from, he was head trainer with Bob Devaney, Bill Byrne, into Steve Peterson, and you guys those 3 coaching staffs. But it's amazing. He goes, what happened to having guys as ADs that understand football or were football coaches? We got lost somewhere along the way where we have to bring in guys who are lawyers who have been, I don't know, Fortune 500s this or been. It's like, you don't really. Why do we need that? Let's get guys in here that understand that 9 wins is pretty good.
Yeah, what it takes to win football games.
Yeah, and we know that now. I think it's funny now. You look back, how bad people would take 9 wins right now.
Man, I'm from Boulder, Colorado.
Right. So
So like a CU fan, like talking to Buff fans, they're like, how do you fire a coach that wins 9 games?
Right.
So
hey, they fired my head coach in 2003 for winning 9 games.
exactly. So and my biggest answer is that is what's your definition of success? Right? Is 9 and 10 wins, is that successful for your program? For some programs, yeah, absolutely. For the University of Nebraska, the standard's different.
Right? It is way different, but I
Yeah.
think, and again, we were so spoiled for so long, but also we've experienced, because back in the old Big 8 days, you only had to beat like 1 to 2 teams a year.
Right.
That was Oklahoma. CU got better
through
in late
the
80s when
Yeah,
McCartney got there.
Yep.
But you throw in maybe a K-State was halfway decent.
You got two.
Missouri might be halfway decent.
You got 2 big games.
Yeah.
Here.
But so, there was no championship games you had to worry about. So you could play, you go undefeated and you're in the Orange Bowl.
You're going.
And so people are like, oh. But then all of a sudden you add some more games. Conferences grow. Parity.
Right.
Recruiting becomes different. And it's tougher. The college football game, it's amazing what Clemson, Alabama to me is able to do year in, year out. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Incredible.
Because, there's so many teams that'll have a good year, but then it's like they got to replace all these seniors, but yet they can just plug and play.
Exactly.
It's like, oh,
right.
They're 11-1.
Right. Are you reloading or are you rebuilding?
Right.
And at that point, it's funny because I don't mean to, like, the average fan I don't think understands really what goes into winning, right? Like the process of winning is incredibly deep and incredibly intricate. So, like, what's the standard, right? Like, what is the expectation? Do you expect conference championships every year? Do you expect national, playoff appearances? Because if that's the expectation, I really hope people realize what an anomaly a school like Alabama or Clemson is. Like, these type of schools that have this kind of continued success are.
It's once in a lifetime.
It's once in a lifetime. It's something that you really won't witness very much in sports.
Right.
Like, their continued success is incredible. So not only hats off to them, but like my biggest thing is, what's our expectation, right? Like, are we as fans, do we want to win 9 or 10 games? Because I'm very content with winning 9 or 10 games. That takes a lot of effort. But if we're expecting to win the Big Ten every single year, we're in my opinion, the Big Ten is the second greatest. I mean, up there with the SEC in terms of Big Ten beats the heck out of each other all year.
The Big Ten's deeper than the SEC.
Deep. Without question.
I mean, yeah, I know Rutgers is struggling a little bit, and depending on, Minnesota's got. But there's Maryland's going through some stuff, but they're still not. I mean, it's a grind. I know SEC's a grind too, but it's by far the deepest to me.
Without question.
I think people underestimate. People look at when you come to this conference, because I'll be firsthand. I'm like, oh, we're going to run through the Big Ten. But I remember talking to Kaczynski, the old D-line coach.
Yeah. Coach.
Yeah. And I got to know him a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's like, people don't know how hard it is to beat Northwestern. They have no idea. They look at Northwestern, it's like, oh, some small, smart school in Chicago. They have no idea how hard it is to beat them guys. They have how hard it is to beat Iowa.
I mean, if you talk about the quote unquote bottom tier of the Big Ten, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not projecting beliefs, but people will say Northwestern's not that great, right? Mm-hmm. They are. Mm-hmm. They're very difficult. They're a very difficult school to beat, right. Especially when you talk about going into Chicago. Mm-hmm. They're a hard school to beat.
They don't beat themselves.
No, exactly.
You got to play. They make you play a perfect football game.
That's what the Big Ten is, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're talking about schools that just are grinders, man. Like that love running the football, mm-hmm. that want to play smash mouth football with you for 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I don't care. I mean, Iowa's the same way. I don't care what team you are, no matter how great you are. When someone wants to just hit you in the mouth mm-hmm. for 4 quarters, especially when you wear an N on the side of the
right.
helmet, people want to put it on
and
you.
People know they can get Nebraska now too, so that gets them a little extra hyped.
Exactly.
They're always juiced to come to play Nebraska, but now they're down, so it's like, ooh, we can get them now.
We can get them
because people didn't get them for like
a long
30
time.
years.
Yeah. So again, like I am steadfast in my love for Nebraska and Nebraskans and the fandom. without question. But again, it just goes back to that question: is what's our standard, right? Like I know, and we're just winning natties all through through the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But do we want to be competitive, or do we want to be perfect? And that perfection is a double-edged sword, because you want to chase it as a program. You want to chase it nonstop. You want to be the best in the country. There's no question. That's what you want to breed into your culture, right? But at the same time, there's got to be a sense of realism, right? Especially in the Big Ten. When you talk about schools like Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. These are some of the most storied programs in college football history. I mean, Michigan's probably got the most wins in college football history.
It's up there, yeah. I mean, Nebraska's up there too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're probably 2 or 3.
We're all in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean,
Notre Dame, Alabama.
Exactly. Of the top 5, there's probably 3 schools that are Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are ignorant to the fact of how competitive the Big Ten is.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And that's not a detriment or a shot at fans, right? Because they want to win. People want to see us win, just as I do. But at the same time, I think there's a sense of realism that we all have to cope with, where it's like, okay, we're playing one of, if not the most competitive conferences in college football. So it's just tough, man. And all I want to see is the coaching staff and the players have success. That's all I want.
I think I look at this, what we're going through, and I asked Doak when we were going through our pod. I go, because he'd seen it. He'd been a part of the glory years, and he was there with Callahan. So,
right.
And I asked him, I go, point blank, where was the downturn? He goes, probably hiring a Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
And you try to change who we were. For some reason, we thought we had to change to do something completely different.
Try to do something different.
It was never broke. For some reason, people thought 9-3. Well, it was 7-7 after they got beat by Miami. So we had that. You get smoked by Colorado in 2001. And then you get beat by Miami in that national championship game. Miami might be one of the greatest teams of all time in college football.
I mean, I'm not here to argue.
Right.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's not even an argument.
Yeah.
You go 7-7, new quarterback, lose Eric Crouch, Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
But then you go 9-3, and people are like, oh my God, he went 7-7. What's going on?
Yeah.
And Frank did things. He hired coaches who had been there with T.O. for all those years.
Right.
I think somewhere on the line we just got it spoiled, a little bit delusional. But I think what we're going through right now is a blessing in disguise. Truly, I mean, I don't like going through it, but people got to realize, you know what? I would have taken 9 wins. Like, people are going to take 9 wins, because you look at the schedule coming up this next year. They could be 7-5 and going 4-5 in the Big Ten is about, I think, as good as you can get.
I don't disagree. But then you look at 2021, man, right? Like I believe in Coach Frost, steadfast, diehard. He recruited me to Oregon. I love Coach Frost. But it just goes back to that. What is our standard? Because in 2021, we're going to go on the road first week to play Illinois in Ireland.
Right.
Okay? Tough.
Right.
Like, it's not a vacation, right? Like Coach Lovie Smith and the Illini are not going to go into that game, thinking, it's a cupcake. So it's tough. Not only that, I mean, we played Penn State, we played Michigan, we played Michigan State. Like it reminds me a lot of the 2011 schedule, where it's just like, what is this gauntlet that we're running through? And that's supposed to be, I mean, that's his contract year.
Right.
So it's so difficult to look not only at the program, but just like, what is our standard for success? Because is our standard for success breeding phenomenal young men and having a positive win record? Like, I would like to think that without question. But this is Lincoln. Like, championships are expected. So it's just tough. It's just tough.
Yeah.
I feel for the kids. I feel for the coaches. The standards are incredibly high.
They are, but and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
they should be high.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's a blessing for this fan base to know how hard it is to win. I think what Scott. I know Scott pretty well, and I mean, he was just coach of the year just 2 years ago, and he's but whole different ballgame. And sometimes you have to go through some things. You know what the American Conference went through and what you go through with the Big Ten.
Yep.
You got to adapt. You got to change a little bit. You got to. This might be one of the most humbling experiences. Sometimes you got to be humbled.
I imagine. I mean, I imagine not only so for Nebraska fans, right? Not myself included, because I'm not a player. I'm a big fan. It's been incredibly humbling, and I imagine it's tenfold for the head man. Right. Like he's coming home from here, won a natty for us.
Right.
Like the expectations for the program are sky high. Not only for the program, but for the boss man.
Yeah.
So he feels those pressures, and I feel for him because those that's tough to deal with. Not only navigating the waters of just trying to win football games every week, which is just insurmountable, right. Then to realize like you're carrying the entire state on your back as well is tough. The
pressures. I mean,
the pressures are just brutal.
Being a starting quarterback in the state, let alone the pressures. But then you come back,
and you're a natty winner.
Right.
You're the last national championship winner.
Yeah, and you just you took I'm always hesitant to say what he took over at Central Florida was a complete mess. I mean, I know they didn't win a football game, I think, before he got there, but they just won the Fiesta Bowl like a year before that. So it's like they had some talent there.
I mean, there was players.
Blake Bortles was there that year too, but
there was players on the team. Yeah.
But again, it's always fun to talk about. It's interesting to see where they're going. I want to switch gears here, and you were a 5th round draft pick to Tampa Bay Bucks, and I'm just always interesting to get guys. Sense of the NFL and what it was, because your old man played in the NFL. And was he able to prepare you for what you're about to get into? Because I've told people, I was on a podcast like a month ago and we talked about NFL, and it was I would say it was a rude awakening, but it was like something I was so unprepared for. I don't think, but having your dad experience it and what you went through and what you've seen and just your take on your experiences, playing at the next level.
Right. It's really tough for me. Right. Like I'll admit firsthand that my NFL experience was miserable. So that is.
We can sympathize together.
Yeah. Dude. So I think I will not. I'd be remiss if I did not admit my own, kind of bias towards the NFL, because I genuinely believe that I'm just like there's so many guys more than talented enough to play at that level, but there's just so much that goes into it that people don't realize. Like the politics that go into the NFL are incredible. So my first response would be like, hey, what was your NFL experience like? I would say miserable. It was probably the most miserable, trying, and just difficult time of my life, right?
Because did you have injuries you dealt with where you're at Tampa Bay?
Brutal. Yeah. So my first year in Tampa, this is when I really got an idea like kind of what the league was like. My first year in Tampa, after our second preseason game, I kind of like tweaked my hammy, and I was good. I probably would have been good 3 or 4 weeks later to play, and they're like, "Hey, how you feeling?" I was like, "I feel good. Give me week 1, I'm ready to go." And they told me, no, it looks pretty bad. We're gonna IR you.
Was this pre-IR when you go on the IR? Was this post? Yeah, this was post first the newest CBA. So there was an 8-week IR.
Exactly.
And there was a total. Okay.
So there was an 8-week IR, and then there was a full season IR.
Correct.
And at that time, Coach Lovey, looking out for me. Honestly, he really was. He said, "We're gonna put you on IR so we can get you healthy the whole year." My IR rookie year was very unique because I went to every meeting. I went to every single practice. I drew up scouting reports for the receivers. I presented that scouting report. It's like a 4-page scouting report on the opposing DBs for the receivers every Friday, and then I turned that written report into the quarterbacks because Jameis was one of my best friends. So I grinded.
Yeah.
I grinded so hard every single day of my rookie year. And most guys, if you're on IR, they send you home.
Right. Well, because I spent my first 2 years on IR, and that was before you could come off.
Right.
So I broke my ankle, whole year IR, and I tore my bicep.
And they sent you home.
Well, I stayed.
Okay.
I stayed to rehab, but like as soon as the season was over, I came back here to rehab and train as well.
Right.
But I went to meetings.
Yeah.
And we couldn't go to practice because that was San Francisco's rule. Like IR guys,
you're not practicing.
You're not practicing.
Yeah.
I go to meetings, but I did that for 2 straight years.
Right.
Now. But you at least
sitting in there just
right.
like,
well, that too. But at least
Yeah.
you know that you have a chance to come back and play.
Right.
So you're mentally in it.
You're
still trying
to.
And that's cool. But keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. Just that it was just unique in the way that I did all that, and then my head man got fired, and then from there I really didn't stand.
Who did they bring in after Levy?
Dirk Cutter.
Oh,
so they hired our OC, made him our head man, and when I got fired, they kept the running backs coach's son as our 6th receiver and fired me. So at that point, I was just like, all right, I had really dedicated myself to Tampa Bay. So I was incredibly disappointed. And then not only that, once you get fired, especially for the first time, like...
Hey, didn't that open your eyes?
Oh, man, it's so brutal.
It makes you jaded.
It really does. So I went home, and I was training for like 6 weeks. And after the 6th week, I was really ready to just hang
Did you come back to Lincoln or you go back to Boulder?
I was back in Boulder. So I was training in Denver, and I was really ready to just hang him up. I had gone on 4 visits, like where I had gone, worked out for the teams, and they were just like, not today. And which is just the most brutal feeling.
Which is so similar, like
which is
what we went through. But it's just the business that people look at. They look at the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers and the Ezekiel Elliott's getting paid. Like,
they see these guys.
I tell someone there's like out of the 53 men that actually are on the active roster, 10% of them are comfortable.
Yeah, I would say even maybe more so. In your heart of hearts, right? There's 1,696 roster spots in the NFL. Do you think there's 1,700 guys that could play in the NFL in the entire country?
Yeah.
Like that number doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Like there's so many more guys that could, without a doubt, play on Sunday. Like the talent is just nonstop. There's guys that can play on Sunday without a question. The thing is, the stigma is people believe that the best players play, and that's just how it works. And that's just like people genuinely believe that the NFL is a well-oiled machine, and it's just not.
Well, I think it's amazing too. Like, because I was drafted the 4th round by 49ers, got cut going into my 3rd year, spent a year with the Rams, mainly on practice squad just because I wanted a job.
Yeah.
Left, should have stayed with St. Louis. They wanted me to come back, but again, like I think agents too get their hands in it and they try to give you bad advice too. And I know you're and it's just crazy. And all of a sudden you start bouncing around. And I'm married at the time, and it's just getting harder and harder. And like you're just realizing football is a really hard game to keep bouncing around. I go to the Titans a little bit, and you're just like, man, I get cut again. Yep. It's like you get really jaded, And I turned out. I was supposed. Cowboys called up. I get cut by the Titans. I spent 2 weeks back here. They call like the day before they go to camp.
Right.
And I said, "No, I'm good," because I knew I was because they had a couple guys in PUP.
Yeah.
So I knew I was just going to be a practice body.
Yeah, you're just a practice body.
And people are like, "What are you doing? How are you going to turn down the Cowboys?" Like
a lot of people,
bro,
like
you have no idea.
You have no idea what that offer means or what the.
And I get it. It's an opportunity.
Right?
Like it could have turned into something, but at that time, after being in the business for like a handful of years,
for what? Like what am I doing?
Right.
Like what am I doing?
There's literally, I figured there was a 5. I can't even say 5%, like 2% chance that I can make that team.
Yeah. People don't realize that, right? Like, and that's not a knock on them. That's just ignorance towards the business.
Right.
And that's not. I'm not calling everybody ignorant. I'm just saying, ignorance is just not understanding such situation, right? There's a ton of people that don't understand what it takes to make a 53-man roster, because it's not your talent, it's not your
it's luck,
it's timing, it's luck, it's being healthy, there's so many things that go into it that, like, yeah, without a doubt, the guys that are on the 53 that are playing that year, they deserve it. I'm not taking that from them. I would never do that. What I'm saying is that there's more than 53 men that could play for a 32 teams. Like the talent is there. So when people start to question, not only your character, like it feels like your character, right? They're questioning your talent, your character, who you are as a man. There's so many other facets that go into making a 53-man roster versus being P squad versus being cut. And that's not a detriment, which has been the hardest lesson that I've learned. It's not a detriment on that player's character, right? If anything, it's a detriment on the culture that is the NFL.
Yeah.
Right.
It's brutal.
It's
like
brutal.
It's the like I retired because I did the step down, didn't go to the Cowboys, but I decided to play in the UFL league because they had Omaha team. Like, I'll give it a go. Which at that time when I said no to Cowboys, I hated football.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing. I had nothing to do with it.
I know.
I just the thought of going through training camp made me want to throw up.
Going to a camp would literally make your stomach turn.
No, right. And I just but I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And it was good because it brought my love for the game because there was still pressure. Like, guys got cut, and brought in because it was a business to some extent, but you just knew that I was good. I felt comfortable.
Right.
So that it was nice to experience. But it's just wild, the things I learned in the business and how you have to approach it, how you have to view it. I mean, it's just just being a young guy and being naive, I'll never forget. So I don't know if you ever went through this. So going into my third year, I had a really good camp.
Yeah.
But I tweaked my groin going into the last preseason game. So I didn't practice the last few games or last few practices. So they take me to San Diego. So they're like, hey, we're going to test you on the field for the game. But I know in my situation, I got to play that fourth preseason game. I got to play.
You have to.
I got to play.
Yeah, there's no
they're
question.
kind of hyping me up. You got to play. We'll test you.
But the thing is, the pressure from that, they're like, you have to play.
Right.
If you want to make this club.
So this is what's wild. This is what people don't understand about the business. We get there. I pack my equipment bag, right?
Right.
We get to where the Chargers, their old stadium with Qualcomm, and my stuff, my equipment bag's not there. So I go up to our equipment manager. I'm like, hey, where's my stuff? And he's like, oh, they told me you weren't playing. I'm like, so I'm getting gassed up by the training staff, the coaching staff, that, hey, we're going to get you ready to play.
We're going.
So I'm like, what the hell? So Ferg, our trainer, Ferg was an awesome guy.
Right.
And he comes up, he said, you ready to go out? And I had some workout gear and stuff, so we did it. So I come back in, and Jeff Ulbrich, who had been in the league for a long time, I think he's still coaching, he's like, dude, they got you. I'm like, what are you talking about? They got you. I go, they got you working out on tape, so you can't file an injury grievance.
Exactly.
I go, in my heart, I'm like,
shit.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
Wouldn't even have thought of that.
Wouldn't even thought of it.
Wouldn't even have thought of that. And that's just the business.
It's just the business.
That's the business and the stuff that people will do. And I'm trying to get myself ready in mind right, and that's just the business people go through.
They're trying to get you out of there.
Right.
They're trying to prove that you're healthy enough that they don't have to pay you and fire you.
Correct. So because I got cut the very next day.
I'm telling you.
But they're going to say, hey,
people don't realize
you're right. You want to file an injury? Go ahead. We got it on tape.
We got it. Yeah, you're running.
You're running.
We have the record here, right? Yeah, we have the record that you're feeling good running.
I'm like, oh my God, I never thought that. Because that's just the business. Though.
That's the business. And we've been, it's funny because we've been, taught, grind, and you'll be the best. Just work your tail off, and you will get an opportunity. And then you try and put yourself out there, right? You're trying to be like, I'm doing everything I can to be as healthy as I can so I can provide for this organization. And they're like, thanks, now get out.
No, it's crazy. And you see guys that come into the off-season program so out of shape, but they're so gifted, naturally freaks, they're so prepared and
national potential league.
But no, I swear, no, I'll never forget. I mean, the dude was awesome. I loved him. I mean, he out of shape every year. We're playing a third preseason game against the Raiders, and we're on starting punt return, and we run out there, and we had a return that was called West, And I'm running out there. He had been on defense already. And I'm like, West, West, West. He literally just stands up off the ball.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time.
No idea what the call was.
Right. I didn't know it at the time. But we're watching the film, and we had a hard ass of a special teams coach in the NFL
are brutal.
Wacko.
Yeah,
like crazy.
If you're a special teams coordinator in the league,
you're crazy.
You're crazy.
And he would just berate you, and just kill you. And he literally stands up off the ball and stops. And he's like, Ahmad, what are you doing? He goes, oh, Jay just told me to rest.
He buried you.
But it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like what?
Yeah.
Like, why would you just rest? Like,
What is
even? But he makes the team. He ends up playing for like many years. But it's just crazy. It's just the stuff. Like if that would have happened to me, I'd have been cut. Like then out.
You would have had your ass chewed in that meeting, and then you would have got fired the next day.
You out. Like where's your playbook at?
So again, like people don't realize how long of a leash some guys get and how short of a leash gets. And my biggest thing is follow the money. Right. Like follow the guys that they're paying. Because if they're paying you a certain amount of money, then the GM or the ownership or head coach, they have a certain amount of vested interest in you, and that's that.
So still staying with the NFL, I think, it just kind of proves it. I was on this other podcast. I go, the most important year of anyone's NFL career is your rookie year. And if you get hurt, you are put behind the 8 ball so much. You're damaged goods,
man.
And you like I was telling him, I go, you're like that. The draft is like, for me as a golfer, it's like getting that new putter,
right,
or a new club, and all of a sudden, like it's starts misbehaving a little bit.
It's not hitting how you want to.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna stick this over here. You're like, I might hang on to it for a little bit, bring it back out every now and then, see how it performs. And then like after a while, it's like, no, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna get rid of it or give it away. So it's just the business.
It is. It's crazy, but it's really tough because you're not only your rookie year, but if anything happens, right, with your head coach, your GM, which is always
out of your control.
There's so many things that are just not in your control.
It's what's crazy is people don't realize coaches in the NFL still have their guys. Like I was just he was the linebackers coach with the Saints.
Right.
One of my guys got released or cut, or he had a free agent. I'm bringing him with me.
I'm bringing him. It doesn't matter. If I go to Baltimore,
right,
I go to Tampa. It doesn't matter because I got guys that I know that I like. But that's a double-edged sword, right? Because that same coach could be your DC at the next team that you go to, and they're like, hey, this guy's not it. And the only reason they say he's not it is because what they heard from the coaching staff that they were on last, not even really knowing the player.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild business.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to learn a whole new position. Yep. I was a 4-3 DN. I learned a 3-4 outside linebacker. I couldn't tell you the difference between cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, cover 9. But I can tell you what they all mean now because I had to learn all that stuff.
You had to learn.
Yep. But it took me many years, and I was a smart football player, but like not to that extent because I'd have to know that stuff.
Well, the learning curve is brutal too, right? Like they don't. Well, you got 6 months. You got got 2-3 months to learn it and to perform at a very high level, or you're getting fired.
Right. It is, and I feel like too. For me, I need to be on the field going through walkthroughs. Like, you can draw it up, and I can go draw it up now because they make you do that stuff. But like I needed to be on the field.
I need to play. I need to develop.
Right.
Yeah. Like those kind of things.
That's why. Did your dad give you heads up on like the business side of it, or just kind of like
he did, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right. Like no matter how much someone tells you,
right,
until you go through it and you're fired and you understand how it works and you see the intricacies of it, there's no one that can really prepare for you. No matter how much, because I love my coaching staff.
Right.
They told me what I was getting into. My father told me what I was getting into, but at the same time, I had no idea.
Do you still like watching? Are you still jaded towards the league?
Yeah.
Like, do you watch NFL on Sundays?
Nope.
See, here's wild. I got one of my best buds who I played with, Stu Schweiger, he broke Rod Woodson's interception career at the Raiders. We played with him at the Nighthawks in UFL. He refuses to watch the NFL.
I can't. I'll watch some of my buddies.
Yeah.
Some of my close friends that play in the leagues.
I'll watch it. I love watching. Give me college football. 7 days out of the week.
Give me college football.
Over NFL. I'll watch it. But yeah, you might hear some people over talking. We had to hop rooms. This Cornhusker Hotel is getting busy in here, but we'll have a few more minutes here with KB. what's going on with CU now? Being a Boulder guy, man. Talking about crazy business,
Man,
with Mel Tucker leaving, and now at Michigan State, and they can't find a guy.
they can't. Well, I mean, they're going to have to get slapped with a lot of injunctions.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Is that why Mel probably got out?
I think that's why D'Antonio got out. Yeah.
Oh, with Michigan State.
Yeah, with
I
Sparty.
think they meant at CU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought Coach D'Antonio would leave.
Yeah.
I've got a ton of respect for Sparty. You know, we had some barn burners with Michigan State. Got a lot of love for that coach. I think they're going to be under a lot of heat.
Yeah.
Coach Tuck, I've got a lot of respect for. I was in Boulder this past year. I was helping them out all spring. I got a lot of love for that coaching staff. He got paid a boatload of money.
Doubled it up.
Yeah, so here's where I'm at with that. With him taking that job, I've got no problem with that. You know, it's coaches do that, right? They're trying to better their career. I was a little upset with him not addressing his team or his staff.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's tough.
But that's a text message, right? Because the AD said you can't talk to the team. I mean, the same thing happened when Bo got fired here. He just fired a text to all of our players.
It's depending on the administration wants to handle those things. It's crazy
they're going to be bad.
Right.
I love the Buffs. I want to see them do well. I think they're going to be pretty bad.
Why don't they go get Bieniemy?
EB doesn't want to come back.
No, you don't.
I mean, well, if I was EB, right, he's one of the best coordinators in the NFL right now. Not only that, he was at CU when they fired John Embry in 2011.
Okay.
Like he was John Embry's OC in 2011, and they gave Embo like 16 months to turn the program around after Hawkins had just left. Like it's just unrealistic. So there's really no point for him to come back, especially he's going to get a head coaching job in the league in the next year without a doubt.
All right, man. This hotel's getting busy. Let's wrap this up. So I do a little 3 and out segment to wrap it up.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Favorite movie?
Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get down with that. A little Denzel. Okay.
Yeah, I like Denzel.
I met him one time.
You met Denzel?
Yeah. So this is why. So I played.
Yeah, you're a legend.
No, it's just funny how we played in the UFL. His son, that's now the actor in Ballers. Yeah. We played against him. He's from the Sacramento team. So we come out of the locker room and Denzel's just chilling there. Everyone's like, Denzel's.
I had no idea.
We're all like dapping him up and like. Shit,
I didn't know he played ball. Like
no, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's in a new James Cameron movie that I'm really excited at.
Nice. One band that you'd have to go see in concert, whether they're dead or alive.
One band? Queen.
Oh, okay.
Without question.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, that's
you
a
kidding
good one.
me?
That's a good how good's that movie? I watch it almost once a week.
Yeah. So Queen is without a doubt.
I love that. See, I'm a Zeppelin guy, so I love to see Zeppelin because their drummers now dead. But that's a good one.
Yeah, I would want to see Freddie without a doubt.
Last one, Celebrity Crush.
Ooh. I like Halle.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like Halle Berry a lot. Yeah.
Berry. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, brother, man. All right, I appreciate it.
You're the man,
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course.
Everybody, thanks for listening. That was KB. We'll wrap it up. We're going to have a good time at this Team Jack Gala, and stay tuned for the next one.